Fire-type moves in Pokémon are affected by a wide variety of damage multipliers. Depending on the circumstances, you can reach insane values. We looked into every modifier we can think of to come up with a way to stack multipliers. In the end, we got to the point where we get values that straight up can't even be registered in-game. We'll go into how this is possible step by step, so get those calculators ready. How damage calculations work in Pokémon. Before we get into how crazy the numbers can get for fire-type damage multipliers, we want to make sure you understand how damage calculations work in more common scenarios. Here's the current damage calculation equation as of making this video. This general equation formula has been used since Generation 5 and has been updated with a few factors here and there up until the present day. Generation 9 as of making this video. If you're not into math, don't worry, we'll break down each section of this equation so that we're all on the same page. With that said, if this is something you're already familiar with, feel free to skip to the next part of this video. To help everyone understand, we'll be using an example as we go through each step of the equation. Let's use a level 100 Volcarona that knows Flamethrower as our Pokémon. We'll have our Fiery Bug face off against a level 100 Dusknoir, which takes unmodified damage from fire-type moves, and has a special defense stat similar to Volcarona's special attack stat. First, we multiply Volcarona's level by 2, which gives us 200. Then, we divide 200 by 5, which gives us 40. Next, we add 2 to 40 to get, you guessed it, 42, which is the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. Following this, we multiply 42 by the base power of Flamethrower, which is 90, and therefore gives us 3,780. We need to get the AD sum before moving on to the next step, so let's do that by grabbing Volcarona's special attack stat, the A value, and Dusknoir's special defense stat, the D value. Remember that this uses actual stats, not base stats. Let's give Volcarona the highest possible special attack at level 100, which is 405. We'll do the same for Dusknoir's special defense stat, which also results in a value of 405 in ideal conditions. Therefore, when we divide, we get a value of 1 when 405 is divided by itself. On to the next step. 3,780 multiplied by the result of the AD subequation, which is 1, results in an unchanged value of 3,780. Now, we divide 3,780 by 50, which gives us 75.6. After that, we add 2, resulting in 77.6. We're using a normal 1v1 battle as an example, so we can insert a 1 as the target value. This means no change for 77.6. If we were targeting multiple foes at once, we would get a target value below 1, but we are not, so this value remains at 1. PB, which stands for parental bond, is irrelevant here, so its value is 1 as well. Same as before, no change to our 77.6. Next is the weather factor, which will come into play when we get into the crazy multipliers later on, but for now, we're going to say there are no active weather conditions in our Volcarona vs Dusknoir scenario. This results in a value of 1 here, so our 77.6 remains unchanged. If harsh sunlight was active, the value for weather would be 1.5, but right now, it's not for the sake of example simplicity. Glaive Rush is not relevant, so its value is 1. Moving on. For this example, we're saying that Volcarona's Flamethrower does not land a critical hit. This means the value here is 1. If it did get a crit, the value would be 1.5, but again, for simplicity, let's say no crits happen. Next up is the random value, which can be anywhere between 0.85 and 1. Let's say we get unlucky and roll a 0.85 here. 77.6 multiplied by 0.85 brings us down to 65.96. After that, we multiply 65.96 by the same type attack bonus value, which, in the case of a fire Pokemon using a fire type damage dealing move, is 1.5. This brings our 65.96 up to 98.94. Then there's the type value, which factors in type effectiveness. Since Dusk Noir is a ghost type, which takes unmodified damage from fire type moves, the value here is 1. Our 98.94 does not change. Following this, there are values for if our attacking Pokemon is burned, which it cannot be in this case. Other factors, which are very situational and not relevant to this example. If Volcarona had an item equipped, or if there were any abilities affecting the output of the damage, then the other factor would change quite a bit, but right now, there is no change. Z moves, which again, do not apply here, and Terra Shield, which, once more, has no relevance to our example. The final 4 values of these 4 factors are all 1s, so nothing happens to our value of 98.94. Finally, the actual damage. Our value of 98.94 is the literal number of HP, health points, lost by Dusk Noir. However, since Pokemon HP does not have decimals, the value is rounded to the nearest whole number. In this case, that would be 99. Therefore, our max special attack level 100 Volcarona decreases the opposing level 100 max special defense Dusk Noir's HP by 99 with a flamethrower. If Dusk Noir started this turn with 290 HP, after taking Volcarona's flamethrower, Dusk Noir's HP will get reduced to 191. How to reach the highest damage multiplier. Okay, we hope we didn't lose too many of you thanks to all the math. But prior to moving on, as a tiny disclaimer, please keep in mind that some of the information we're working off of might be incomplete. Game Freak doesn't dump their formulas online. Everything we've used for this experiment was gathered from user-found information via data mining and other game examining techniques. We did our best to get the facts straight. Okay, enough of that. We'll go into the crazy numbers we promised now. The scenario for the maximum damage multiplier is only possible in a double battle, so keep that in mind as we move forward. We'll explain why in the next section of this video. To get the first factor out of the way quickly, we use a single target move in the double battle so that our target value is 1. Enough said. Let's truly start by examining an important weather condition, harsh sunlight. After using Sunny Day, harsh sunlight illuminates the battlefield for 5 turns, which, among many other mechanics, multiplies the damage of Fire-type moves by 1.5. Next, if an attacking Pokemon lands a critical hit, we get another 1.5 multiplier, bringing the total multiplier value up to times 2.25. Then, if the attacking Pokemon gets lucky with the random value, it'll get a multiplier of 1. This doesn't increase the damage, just prevents it from going down. Now for Stab. The adaptability ability, say that 5 times fast, can help here, but not really, as this messes with better abilities for multiplying our damage. Put simply, Flash Fire or Blaze are better ability choices for what we're trying to do here. For the Stab section of the damage calculation equation, let's pretend the attacking Fire-type Pokemon has Terra Steelized into Fire-type, which gives it a ×2 multiplier for its Stab Fire-type moves. As such, when we multiply 2 by 2.25, we reach a multiplier of ×4.5, which is already pretty high, but we're not even close to being done. Following up, let's consider how big of a type value we can get. Normally, the max value for type would be ×4 if a fire type move hits a target with a double weakness to fire, like a bug and ice type. However, we can push past this limit by using the move Forest's Curse, which gives a target grass typing in addition to its existing types. Therefore, if Forest's Curse is used on a bug and ice type, that target becomes bug, ice, and grass type, resulting in a huge quadruple weakness to fire type moves. Or, in numerical values, fire type moves gain a ×8 multiplier here. If we add that to our built up multiplier of 4.5, we reach a whopping ×36 multiplier. Sort of. We can do better for the type value. Another type factor involves Tar Shot, which is the signature move of Colossal. In addition to lowering a target's speed, Tar Shot also makes a fire-type damage-dealing move used against this foe deal twice the damage. Interestingly, this move affects the type part of the damage calculation, but does not directly give a type value. Instead, it multiplies the type value by 2 if a target is affected by Tar Shot's effects. This is because Tar Shot applies a unique status effect as opposed to causing any type changes, which is a bit like Flash Fire. As such, if you hit an Ice, Bug, and Grass type with Tar Shot, that opponent will take times 16 damage from a Fire type move. To add this to our snowballing multiplier, we need to backtrack a tiny bit in order to multiply our old multiplier value of 4.5 by 16 instead of 8, which, as a result, gives us a new multiplier high score of times 72. Next up is the other section. If a Pokemon has the ability Flash Fire or Blaze, when said ability is activated, the owner of that ability gets another 1.5 multiplier to their damage output via a stat boost of 50%. With that said, a Pokemon can only have one ability at a time, so you can't stack these two abilities' effects together. Let's go with Flash Fire because it can be triggered more easily. As such, this can raise our times 72 to times 108. This is getting ridiculous. We've got two more buffs to bring into this scenario, but the only way we can do so is in a double battle. Enter the ability Fluffy. While cute and useful in a couple of niches, it makes its owner take double the damage from fire type moves. Furthermore, this factors into the other section of the damage calculation equation. We want to get Fluffy onto a Pokemon that is Ice, Bug, and Grass type. However, this is simply not possible without heavy usage of the move Skill Swap, which is a move that lets its user trade abilities with a target. To make things even more complicated, none of the Pokemon that can get Fluffy as an ability can learn the move Skill Swap. Thankfully, Trevenant, who will be our Forest's Curse user, can learn Skill Swap. That means all we need now to reach our perfect multiplier is a Pokemon with the ability Fluffy that we can steal, and an item, but it also needs to learn a fire type move. Luckily, Houndstone fits here really nicely. It gets the Fluffy ability and can learn Fire Fang. While cumbersome to implement, this means that we can pierce the heavens with our burning mathematical passion. However, since the boosts from Flash Fire and Fluffy are both in the other category, we need to stack their values multiplicatively before inserting the result into the equation. Item effects are also lumped into the other category. Let's give Colossal Charcoal, as that's the best damage boosting item in this situation now that Fire Gems are no longer obtainable in-game. This gives us a times 1.2 boost to tack onto our other multipliers. Numerically, this means the Flash Fire boost of 1.5 is multiplied by Fluffy's buff of times 2 and Charcoal's buff of times 1.2 to give us a total of 5.4. This applies to our multiplier value prior to us including Flash Fire in this scenario, which means we multiply times 72 by 5.4, resulting in a new multiplier of times 388.8. Wow. This almost defies comprehension when thinking about how much HP worth of damage you can do. Don't worry, we'll tell you that exact information soon. Also, we'll show you how to rack up such a multiplier in battle in just a moment. But to give you a frame of reference before blowing your mind, if you use a fire type move that would result in dealing 25 HP worth of damage in a regular scenario, shifting things to this max modifier situation with our times 388.8 would cause you to deal a tremendous 9,720 HP worth of damage. Even with minimal base damage, it's over 9,000! You wouldn't just cause your opponent to faint, you'd pretty much cremate them on the spot. Reaching the legendary times 388.8 multiplier in battle. It's time to reach the peak of pyromantic performance. For this, we'll be using everyone's favorite pile of sentient suit, Colossal. Colossal can get the ability Flash Fire, albeit via the hidden ability mechanic. And, obviously, we need to give Colossal a damage-dealing fire-type move. We'll use Overheat because it feels the most thematically appropriate. Also, Overheat can target a single Pokemon in double and triple battles, making it avoid the negative multiplier from the damage calculations target section. And it's also the highest power fire-type move Colossal can learn. On top of that, we'll give Colossal Sunny Day for the weather boost, and Tar Shot for the type factor abuse. The only target that'll let us attain the max multiplier here is Frostmoth or Snom. Snom's too cute to hurt on purpose, even theoretically, so we'll select the elegant and extremely flammable Frostmoth here. Sadly, Colossal can't learn Forest's Curse. The only mons that can learn that are Phantump and Trevenant, so we'll put the latter on our team. Furthermore, Trevenant can learn Skill Swap from TM98, which makes things a lot more convenient for our setup. Next, we need to get a bit lucky when landing a crit. and rolling a 1 for the random multiplier in the damage calculation. Let's get our Colossal to hold Scope Lens because it can't learn crit boosting moves. Or so we would say for the sake of an over 9000 joke, as the Scope Lens looks a lot like a Scouter from Dragon Ball Z. However, Pokémon already have a chance to crit without Scope Lens, so for our theoretical exploration, it would be better to get Colossal to hold a Charcoal. And honestly, they'd probably like that more. Before we light this bonfire of a scenario, we have to declare that this multiplier is only reachable in double battles once more. This is due to the fact that there needs to be both a Frosmoth and a Pokemon that can use a Fire-type move on the opponent's side. Frosmoth cannot learn a Fire-type damage-dealing move, so it can never activate Colossal's Flash Fire. Thankfully, Overheat can target singular Pokemon in double and triple battles once more. So again, the target value of the damage calculation doesn't decrease below 1. We'll make Frosmoth's ally Houndstone here because the latter can get the Fluffy ability, which lets Trevenant swap it onto Frosmoth after a few turns. Importantly, Houndstone can also learn Fire Fang, which we'll need to activate Colossal's Flash Fire. On top of that, to get the biggest possible numbers, because that's one of the fun parts of math, we'll set our Colossal's level to 100 and Frosmoth's to 2, as that's the minimum level at which the Chili Bug can evolve. We'll also skew things a bit further by giving Colossal the highest possible special attack and Frosmoth the lowest possible special defense. With that said, let's illustrate the scenario. We send out Colossal and Trevenant, and the opponent sends out Frosmoth and Houndstone. On turn 1, Colossal terrestrializes into a Fire type and uses Sunny Day, while Trevenant uses Forest's Curse on Frosmoth. Frosmoth does something. It doesn't matter what it does for the most part, so we'll say it uses Bug Buzz. And Houndstone, for some reason, uses Fire Fang on Colossal, which activates the latter's Flash Fire ability. On turn 2, Trevenant uses Skill Swap on Houndstone to get the Fluffy ability. Frosmoth can use Bug Buzz again for whatever reason, and Houndstone can use Fire Fang again on Colossal. The latter uses Tar Shot on Frosmoth this time. It's important to use Tar Shot on Frosmoth after it gains Grass typing, as this lets the damage calculation equation register the times 8 from Frosmoth's quadruple weakness before multiplying it as a result of Tar Shot affecting the type modifier. On turn 3, Trevenant uses Skill Swap again, but this time on Frosmoth to give it the Fluffy ability. Now that everything is in place, we can attack. Colossal uses Overheat, a single target move, on Frosmoth, while we still got a bit of Harsh Sunlight left. If Colossal gets a crit and rolls a 1 for the random portion of the damage calculation, it will succeed in reaching a times 388.8 multiplier. The final figures. Alright, now let's do a little bit more math to find out how much HP worth of damage our aforementioned Colossal versus Frosmoth scenario actually leads to. Colossal's level is 100, which gets multiplied by 2 right away to give us 200. 200 is divided by 5, which gives us 40, and then gets a plus 2, leading to 42. Following this, we multiply 42 by Overheat's base power, which is 130, leading to a value of 5,460. Before moving on, we need to do the AD sub-equation, where Colossal's special attack is 284, and Frosmoth's special defense is 8. The result is 284 divided by 8, which is 35.5. 5,460 gets multiplied by 35.5 to reach 193,830. 193,830 gets divided by 50, resulting in 3,876.6. We add 2 to 3,876.6, which hilariously does next to nothing and gives us 3,878.6. We basically ignore the target and parental bond sections. Then, at the weather step, we multiply 3,878.6 by 1.5 because of Sunny Day's effect to get 5,814.9. Glaive Rush is irrelevant. Moving on, we multiply 5,814.9 by 1.5 because we're assuming that Colossal can land a crit here, giving us 8,722.35. We also assume that we roll a 1 for the random section, thereby keeping our damage at the same value. After Colossal terrestrializes into a Fire type, the stab section lets us multiply 8722.35 by 2, giving us 17,444.7. Since Frostmoth is Ice, Bug, and Grass type after getting hit by Forest Curse, we have times 8 from that. But that times 8 increases to times 16 after Tarshot's effect is applied to the triple type Frostmoth. This multiplies our 17,444.7 by 16 to get 279,115.2. Last but certainly not least, thanks to the Flashfire and Charcoal boost and the Fluffy ability getting swapped onto Frostmoth, we have a resulting times 5.4 multiplier waiting in the wings. Again, this is 1.5 from Flashfire multiplied by 2 from Fluffy. Therefore, for our final figure, we multiplied 279,115.2 by 5.4 to get 1,507,222.08. In this niche and very specific scenario, Frostmoth will take 1,507,222 HP worth of damage. Conclusion. Whew, that was a lot of numbers. We hate to trample upon the mountainous multiplier we just came up with. However, sadly, in-game, the actual HP damage possible with a single attack is merely 65,535, which is about 23 times smaller than our damage output. This is the result of there being an in-game cap for this amount. With that said, doing more than 1000 HP worth of damage in a single attack is already overkill, so the literal damage cap is kind of a moot point, regardless of how you look at it. We just like the theoretical possibility of doing over 1 million damage to a target, albeit that target being a level 2 snowy bug buddy. We were thinking about including the reverse of this situation to find the lowest possible damage you can do in a single attack, but there are no decimals in Pokemon HP, so even the tiniest value will round up to 1, completely deflating any fun we can have with that concept. We also want to mention that the Pokemon we used, their sets, and all of the motions we went through to reach our monstrous multiplier of 388.8 are all possible in Scarlet and Violet. As such, you can replicate our experiment if you really want to. The possibility of actually reaching this point in a legitimate battle is almost non-existent due to Frostmoth and Houndstone needing to basically sit around and do nothing for a few turns, while Colossal and Trevenant stack multipliers. But it is still technically possible and fully legal. No hacking required. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, commenting, and maybe even subscribing. Furthermore, we've got a pretty nice website that has tons of helpful guides, interesting essays, in-depth FAQs, and much more gamer-friendly content to explore. The link to our website is in the description, so please drop by sometime. Until the next video, happy battling, fellow trainers.